Jesse. Yeah, Mr. White. Did you know that we have rights? Yeah, Constitution says you do. Yeah, it does. And so do I. Until proven guilty, I believe that every man, woman, and child is innocent. And that's why I fight for you, Albuquerque. Hey, Walter. Walter, put your dick away. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be ranking the entire Breaking Bad universe. This includes all 5 seasons of Breaking Bad, the El Camino movie, and all 6 seasons of Better Call Saul. Please keep in mind that this is solely my opinion, and it is likely to change in the future. And of course, there will be plenty of spoilers in this video, but I'm not going to delve into every single detail possible because this video will take forever to make otherwise. So I'm going to keep it as simple as I can. With that being said, let's get into it. So coming in at number 12 is going to be Better Call Saul Season 2. Now, even the strongest chain has a weak point, and the same can apply to many of the greatest TV shows of all time. You know, there's always going to be one season that's not quite as interesting or as memorable as the others, no matter how good it is. But Season 2 of Better Call Saul is still an excellent season of television regardless. You know, Jimmy begins his feud with Chuck. Kim leaves Davison, Maine to share an office space with Jimmy. Mike's involvement in the conflict between Nacho and the Salamancas is set up perfectly here. And of course, in the finale, we saw Jimmy confess to Chuck, not knowing that Chuck secretly had everything on tape the entire time. And on a side note, there's a puzzle in the episode titles you may not have noticed. I mean, neither did I, but still, this is worth mentioning. If you take the first letter of every episode title and rearrange them, you get Fring's back, which of course foreshadows Gus Fring's return to the Breaking Bad franchise in Season 3 of Better Call Saul. It's just that the material feels a bit too stretched out, even across 10 episodes, so the season can be a bit slow and a bit boring at times. But other than that, this is still great television. It's just not the best that you can expect out of the Breaking Bad universe, let alone Better Call Saul. But I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Coming in at number 11 is gonna be Breaking Bad Season 2. So this one has the same problem as Better Call Saul Season 2. And it's just the fact that the material feels a bit too stretched out, and so the season can be a bit of a slog at times, especially since Season 2 spends most of its time setting up Season 3. But there's still a lot to appreciate about it. You know, the first 2 episodes with Tuco were great, leading up to his death at the hands of Hank. The introductions to Hector, Mike, and of course, Gus Fring himself. One of the standout episodes in the season was episode 8, Better Call Saul, which introduced us to the man himself, Saul Goodman. And it had the iconic open grave scene, a scene that you can never look at the same way now that we know who Ignacio and Lalo are. Jesse's relationship with Jane, which ultimately ended in tragedy. Walter and Skylar's daughter Holly being born and Skylar becoming suspicious of Walter. The foreshadowings with the pink teddy bear and all that. And of course, the final scene in the finale, which saw Walter witnessing the plane crash. So yeah, despite being my least favorite Breaking Bad season, it's still excellent television as usual. So I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. So coming in at number 10 is gonna be Better Call Saul Season 1. Now this season is low on the list because it is held back in a lot of ways just for being the beginning of Better Call Saul. But when you think about it, this show couldn't have started off any other way. I really enjoyed the sort of reintroduction to Saul Goodman in his early days as Jimmy McGill, the new title sequence and theme music, the more comedic tone compared to the later seasons, the introductions to Kim, Howard, Chuck, the returns of Mike and Tuco, the opening flash forward in the pilot episode with Saul Goodman living under the name Gene Takovic and working as a manager for a Cinnabon, and just witnessing Saul take his first few steps towards becoming the criminal lawyer we all know and love through the $1 million embezzlement case surrounding the Kettleman family. The second half is where it admittedly starts to drag a little bit, but story-wise it's still excellent. And so yeah, it's not the best of Better Call Saul because a lot of the best parts of the overarching story comes later, but I'm still gonna give it a 9 out of 10. So coming in at number 9 is gonna be Better Call Saul Season 3. Now, if you somehow lost interest in this show after Season 2, then this season will definitely change your mind. Otherwise, if not, then this show may not be for you. The tension between Jimmy and Chuck heightened this season to the point where Chuck took him to court. Mike begins his partnership with Gus. Nacho sets a plan in motion to kill Hector. The special guest appearance of Huel, Kim's accident, and the finale which saw Hector getting a stroke.
The boss can shock me.
And Chuck cutting all ties with Jimmy and committing suicide. The first half was a bit of a slog, but it definitely picked up once the trial took place. And yeah, at the time of watching it, it was my favorite season of the show because it took the overall story on the right path and it led to so many other great things. So I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Coming in at number 8 is gonna be Better Call Saul Season 5. Now this isn't one of my absolute favorite seasons in the Breaking Bad universe, mainly because it tended to be a bit boring in places, but on the whole it was still excellent. You know, Jimmy got his lawyer's license back and now he's working under the name Saul Goodman, and this is where he really sets out and embraces his Saul Goodman persona that we see in Breaking Bad to a certain extent. Vince Gilligan's visual storytelling and use of color is some of the best in the Breaking Bad universe. Kim and Saul conspiring to ruin Howard Hamlin's career and reputation, and even getting married in the process. Lalo Salamanca having a much more prominent role compared to Season 4. Mike being very bitter throughout the season because of the fact that he had to kill Vanna at the end of Season 4. The cameos from Hank and Steve. It even has my favorite Crazy 8 scene where he gets caught with drugs in the most hilarious way possible. And of course the finale, which culminated in the assassination attempt on Lalo, only for him to get away scot-free. So yeah, not my absolute favorite season in this universe, but definitely one of the better seasons in Better Call Saul, no pun intended. So I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. So coming in at number 7 is gonna be Breaking Bad Season 4. Some people consider this to be not only their favorite Breaking Bad season, but probably their favorite season in the Breaking Bad universe, period. And that's fine, more power to you. But for me, it's not any higher on the list because it definitely had its slow patches here and there. But when it's good, it's amazing. The premiere episode opened in the most shocking way possible with Gus slicing Victor's throat with a box cutter, hence the episode title. The conflict between Walter and Gus was at an all-time high. We also got the iconic "I am the danger" speech from Walter when he's confronting Skyler. Skyler buying the car wash that Walter worked at. Jesse drowning himself in guilt and sorrow, considering he was the one to murder Gale at the end of Season 3. Gus getting revenge on Don Eladio. Hank constantly pushing Mary away while recovering from his injury, and also having this new obsession with rocks. I mean minerals. Sorry, Hank.
You sussy baka!
And of course, the season finale face-off culminated in the iconic deaths of Gus and Hector, and the revelation that Walter did in fact poison Brock, Andrea's son. So for all those reasons, this is one of the best seasons of Breaking Bad, in my opinion, and I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. So, coming in at number 6 is gonna be Breaking Bad Season 5. This was the best way to end Breaking Bad, and it's easily one of the best final seasons in TV history. Hank finds out the truth that Walter has been Heisenberg the entire time while taking a shit. The introductions to Lydia, the neo-Nazis including Jack and Todd, and just seeing Walter leave so much of chaos in his path, including killing Mike. His working relationship with Jesse falls apart, which ultimately leads to Jesse teaming up with Hank to take down Walter, only to be captured by Jack and his gang. And he even witnessed the death of Andrea at the hands of Todd. Even the scene where Todd shot the kid after the train heist was pretty shocking. And of course, the last 3 episodes being pure perfection. Ozymandias, Granite State, and Felina. The opening 20 minutes to Ozymandias saw Hank getting killed by Jack, all while Walter stood and watched. And the opening credits didn't show up until after that. In Granite State, he relocated to a cabin in New Hampshire thanks to Ed, Robert Forster's character, while Saul relocated to Nebraska, setting up the flash forwards in Better Call Saul. And in Felina, we saw Walter go all the way back to save Jesse and kill the neo-Nazis once and for all. And of course, the two of them went their separate ways, with Jesse driving off, leaving his fate ambiguous until El Camino came out, and Walter dying from his wounds. And with a bit of a smile on his face, knowing that he did everything he needed to do before kicking the bucket, even if it wasn't from his cancer. You know, making peace with Jesse and even giving Skylar the $9.7 million. Because there were 16 episodes as opposed to the usual 13, the first half of the season could feel a bit slow at times, but other than that, this was a brilliant way to end what is arguably the greatest TV show in history. So I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. So coming in at number 5 is gonna be El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie. This is a very unique experience in the Breaking Bad universe. You know, it's a Breaking Bad themed movie that was theatrically released, and one that focused on a character other than Walter or Saul, in this case, Jesse Pinkman. It was meant to serve as a send-off for Jesse and a temporary epilogue for Breaking Bad until we got to the last 4 episodes of the final season of Better Call Saul. Stylistically, Vince Gilligan was able to translate the neo-western aesthetics of Breaking Bad to El Camino. Jesse's arc is the equivalent of a boy becoming a man in a lot of ways. We got flashbacks focusing on Jesse's enslavement to the neo-Nazis, as well as a few scenes with him and Todd. They even brought back Walter White in a cameo, as well as Jane and Mike, all via flashbacks. Robert Forster came back as Ed, and this was his last movie to be released during his lifetime. May he rest in peace. And of course, the final scene with the letter he wrote for Brock being left open to interpretation, and Jesse driving off to his new life in Alaska. It wasn't 100% perfect. I have a few nitpicks with it. Some of the actors having aged in the years since Breaking Bad, that's something that couldn't be covered up. Bryan Cranston was obviously wearing a bald cap during his scene. Jesse Plemons, who played Todd, had gained a bit of weight in the years since Breaking Bad, and so they couldn't really do anything to cover that up. And even Jesse's hair and scars don't quite match up with the way they looked at the end of Breaking Bad. But other than that, this is a near perfect movie, and in all honesty, a perfect conclusion to Jesse's story. So I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. So now we have my top 4, and all 4 of these seasons are perfect, which is why it's difficult to decide on how to rank them. So we have seasons 1 and 3 of Breaking Bad, and seasons 4 and 6 of Better Call Saul. So this is my decision for the time being. It may be likely to change in the future, I'm not sure. So my number 4 pick is gonna be Better Call Saul Season 4. This is a season I absolutely adore, more than most people I suppose. It just had so many great things going for it, you know. Saul having his license temporarily suspended, and in the meantime, he's working at a store and selling old cell phones. Everyone is grieving the loss of Chuck, especially Howard. Construction on Gus's meth lab is underway, and through this we're introduced to Werner Ziegler, one of the most underrated characters in the entire show. Lalo Salamanca is introduced in the season, and I even liked the subplot with Huel. I thought it was hilarious. And of course, in the finale, we saw Mike killing Werner, which deeply affects him in season 5. And the final scene had the iconic Saul Goodman scene, when Jimmy finally gets his license back, and this is the moment where he genuinely became Saul Goodman. So yeah, for all those reasons, season 4 is one of the most memorable seasons of Better Call Saul, and I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. So coming in at number 3 is gonna be Breaking Bad Season 1. Now I know a lot of people consider this to be one of the weaker seasons in Breaking Bad, mainly because it's just the beginning of the show. It's still kind of finding its feet in certain areas. But that's kind of why I appreciate it so much. You know, there's something about it that stands out amongst the other seasons of Breaking Bad. Seeing Walter and Jesse meet for the first time is great as always, because here they were sweet and innocent before things went off the rails for both of them later on. And even the pilot episode as well, you know? It had so many memorable moments in it that make it one of the greatest pilot episodes in TV history. Plus, the tone is a bit more comedic. You know, the show started out as a dark comedy and then shifted into a serious drama. Skylar was still pregnant with Holly at the time, and you know, this was before she started to get on not only Walter's nerves, but the fans' nerves. Plus, Tuco was in it, and you know, this was before we were introduced to the Salamancas and Gus and so on. So this season feels a lot smaller in scale because of that, and you know, every scene he's in is just a blast to watch. Plus, it was only 7 episodes because of the writers' strike, so the pacing to me was 100% perfect. And I really appreciate the fact that the final scene in the finale is reused as the opening scene for the season 2 premiere, something that Better Call Saul did as well with its first and second seasons. And besides, it has some of the best scenes in the entire series. The "yeah, science" meme, "this is not meth," "helicopter bitch," and I don't have a single issue with this season. It's perfect from start to finish. I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. So, with the 2 remaining, these 2 are very interchangeable. I'm taking a huge leap of faith here, and if you ask me again in 5 years, maybe my opinion will change, maybe it won't, who knows. So, with that in mind, my number 2 pick is gonna be Breaking Bad Season 3. To me, this is not only the most memorable Breaking Bad season, but it's the closest to perfection as it gets in my opinion. Seasons 4 and 5 were great, but they had pacing issues. This season has 13 episodes, but I think it's paced perfectly, and it just has so many iconic things going for it. Walter and Jesse are now working for Gus in the meth lab. Skylar finds out Walter's secrets. There's the iconic Fly episode. There's the introduction to the cousins. The iconic pizza throwing scene. Hank had some much needed development. Plus there was more screen time for characters like Saul, Gus, and Mike. Plus the tension in the last 2 episodes, Half Measure and Full Measure, were very effective, and Full Measure ended on that nerve-wracking cliffhanger with Jesse shooting Gale. This to me is Breaking Bad at its best. So I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. But my number one pick for the time being is gonna be Better Call Saul Season 6. Yes, I actually consider this to be a better final season to Better Call Saul than Breaking Bad's 5th season was to Breaking Bad. Mainly because of the pacing and just, the overall memorability, at least for me. I know people like to complain that the season was stretched out a bit too much. We didn't need 7 episodes of Saul and Kim humiliating Howard, and we didn't need the epilogue to be 4 episodes long. But I disagree with all of that, and I was entertained all the way through. Every single episode had something going for it. The Kettlemans returned in the premiere, the aftermath of Lalo's assassination attempt, where Nacho was laying low and then he commits suicide in the 3rd episode, the cameo from Wendy, the boxing match between Saul and Howard, the death of Howard, the death of Lalo, the confirmation that Gus is in fact gay, Saul and Kim going their separate ways in order to suppress their self-destructive tendencies, and that last scene in the 9th episode where he's already in the office. Then the last 4 episodes jumped ahead to 2010, 2 years after Breaking Bad, to serve as an epilogue to the Breaking Bad universe. The schemes that Gene pulls off weren't for everybody, but personally, I enjoyed them. The cameos from Walter and Jesse via flashbacks. The reintroduction of Kim in the 12th episode was great. And then let's not forget the series finale, Saul Gone. Easily the best episode in the entire series. I went in depth with this finale in my season 6 review for Better Call Saul, so you can check that out if you want more context. It was everything I thought it was going to be and much more. The send-offs for Saul and Kim were perfect, and by the time it was over, I felt empty inside to some extent, because this marked the end of an era for television, something that started out way back in 2008, when I was not even 12 years old. I know I've only been a fan of this universe for 2 years, but it's the best thing I've seen on television, and given that and how much has happened to me personally in that time, it feels a bit longer than that. And some other things were great about the season, like the visual storytelling being at its best and just the general eeriness of it, especially with the black and white title sequences with all the color being drained out. So yeah, it may be over, but the important thing is the legacy of the Breaking Bad universe, especially through this particular installment. So I'm gonna give it the highest 10 out of 10 I can give. So yeah, that's my complete ranking of the entire Breaking Bad universe. I'm definitely gonna miss watching it, I'm definitely gonna miss reviewing it and talking about it on my channel, but as they say, don't be sad that it's over, be glad that it happened. So yeah, that's it guys. Next time, I'm going to be jumping back into the world of heavy metal music, and I'm going to be doing a retrospective on the discography of Megadeth because they have a new album coming out in early September, so look forward to that soon. And yeah, thank you all for watching guys. Please be sure to like the video, share and subscribe, ring the bell, take care, and I'll see you soon.